Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here. This week episode of a Market Monday-ish. We're going to cancel the traditional Market Monday, still talk about economics, still talk about the market, how it is in regards to the Amazon deal, and how I want to go further than my last video I made about exactly how that affects not just the local game store scene, but also just Magic in general, and why it's being very disingenuous when people are saying this isn't an MSRP change. This is absolutely an MSRP change on the value of a booster box. When a company itself sets a price of what they're willing to sell it for, that is the new manufacturer's suggested retail price, regardless of whatever Wizards claims it is on the package. It's what they sell it for is the MSRP. That's the retail price. So we've seen a few other videos come out. Wedge, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Manasaurus Wedge did a very great video on how, this is just horrible for your average local game store. Really going to cut into their margins. Rudy from Alpha Investors did another video as well. However you feel about Rudy. A lot of the finance people can't stand him. A lot of people love him. Regardless, Rudy also did a great video on the Amazon deal. So I think we're all pretty familiar that Wizards made a direct partnership with Amazon, saying that they are going to let Amazon fulfill their orders for them, which when you read Wizards of the Coast statement or on this, their article on this, they acted like it didn't exist on Amazon before they stepped in, which we all know isn't true. People were allowed to sell on Amazon for years and years and years. The difference was it was your game stores competing with each other rather than directly competing with Wizards of the Coast themselves. So this makes a big deal on exactly how the product, like I said, the retail price of a product is determined. So anyway, I put out a statement today on the Twitter. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to read it to you. I'm also going to talk about there's a lot of flack that I've been getting, a lot of pushback, a lot of people calling me a fake store, or my business model of something that should not exist to begin with, especially these larger local game stores. And I would like to say that most of them probably don't like Magic to begin with. You'll meet those local game stores. Like in my travels of the world, there is a lot of people that begrudgingly take on Magic. They don't like it. They are your board game connoisseurs, your Warhammer, that type of stuff. But they realize that local game stores really need Magic. Like Magic is the thing that gets people from the streets into the store to actually buy stuff. Now, that might not be the case for everything. There may also be those stores that are just have enough invested capital, have enough population, have enough interests, hobbies, interests in the area where it can support a store that kind of does the scattershot approach, invests in every gaming thing possible, and you get enough walk-in traffic, you get enough people in that bigger area to come in and support those type of stores. I think that those stores only can exist in populations of, we're talking hundreds of thousands of a city. They cannot exist in anything less than that. And I think that we are going to see the end of the era of Magic-focused local game stores. And really because it's Wizards is basically telling local game stores that they are not going to be concerned with them getting, a reasonable MSRP. Now, again, we'll talk about MSRP, profit margin. So reasonable MSRP, yes, to then create a good profit margin. So this is the second time I've tried to tape this video, so I might be trying to finish off thoughts that I had on the first video that I haven't said this time. So bear with me while I try to get my thoughts together with exactly where I want to go with this. So basically what I'm saying is, with this video, I'm going to try to clear the air with a lot of things. As a person that's been involved with multiple local game stores throughout my life, I knew a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I had a game store up in Salt Lake that sponsored me to go to all the Comic-Cons, so I talked to their owners quite a bit. In fact, they're a big influence on me thinking that I could make a game store work, just because not only did I watch them progress, but I also got to see all the places that they took for granted or didn't maximize. One of the things that the store didn't do is they really didn't sell card singles. And I just saw how much money was missed, how much missed opportunity was lost by not really maximizing the ability to, sell cards. They were kind of the store that just carried a bunch of products. And eventually when you get over that capital hump, where you have, hundreds of $1,000s worth of inventory, and that will be enough to attract people in to buy games and you can survive off of that. However, there's a lot of lucrative ways that can be done without that. And that was the biggest influence on me to like, I can do it better than they can. I can really run, I do this in my personal life. I buy, sell cards. So why not, scale it to where a store and I can be the economy and buy cards for cheap and then sell cards at premium. So again, I've been involved with a number of stores, watched I know exactly how the industry works. And this whole change in the $90 booster boxes is very condescending by Wizards, especially because they are the only product that requires us to have play space. Not any other product that I am aware of, anywhere from even Warhammer to Pokemon, do not require you to have play space to sell their product at your store. And it's kind of bad too, because a lot of distributors want you to have a WPN status to even really want to partner with you with distribution. So it's going to affect more than just Magic when other stores now need to figure out how they're going to make it by without the profit margin that Magic used to give them. And then also, who knows if other games are going to follow suit and say, okay, we're just going to go Amazon Direct. We're just going to go Walmart Direct. We're just going to, if the local game stores start to dwindle, which they will, maybe they won't be the best outlet to sell their product and they're going to have to follow suit. And so it can cause a chain reaction. So this is bigger than these people that are saying that it's just, one product on Amazon and that shouldn't define your local game store. This is a huge message. This is a huge new way of doing business. And like I said before, it's a very, very condescending and short-sighted change by Wizards of the Coast when they themselves put these stipulations on the game store that, I believe over 50% of my store is play space rather than retail space. And of course, that's right there. It's going to be very, very tough for a Magic-focused store. Now, I've been to all these non-Magic-focused stores before that survive without it. Like I said, the store in a city that was mainly a comic book store that just carried Magic. They supposedly ran F&M, but didn't care if it fired, didn't care about, would hold pre-releases if they could get enough interest, would do the things that were, were okay for them when they wanted it. But they definitely weren't that store that were running the modern tournaments, the weekly modern tournaments. We're trying to organize commander groups. We're trying to, because all those things are directly related to Magic being profitable and being, making sense. So for all the people saying, oh, my local game store is going to be fine because it's so diversified, well, maybe you can kiss goodbye to your play space or your Magic specific events. So anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the thing. I'll probably go through this, and I'm sure these thoughts will be sparked back up when I read the Reddit comments on this, on Rudy's post. So here's my statement that I put out today. From the first on Discord, then on Twitter. I did the math today with Wizards expecting us to work off of a 12% profit margin. So 12%, I got that by my price that I can buy from distributors. Remember, Wizards cut me out. I can't even buy directly from Wizards anymore. I have to go through a distributor. So the distributors were usually a little bit more than Wizards was directly. I mean, Wizards used to sell boxes first. I think when I first got into it, it was 72 a box, then 74, then 76. And then they just cut us completely out. And right now it's about $80 a box that I get from the distributors. So it's about a 12% profit margin going from 80 to 90. So just to cover the overhead of operating costs at Gone Rogue Games, we're required to do $5,500 in sales per month just to break even. So that's the number of on a 12% profit margin to replace the inventory plus pay your overhead. That's how much in sales you have to do. That's why when you look at restaurants, they want their food costs. You need to be down around the 18 to 21% mark for food costs. That means you need to be, besides the cost of the food, you need to be grossing about 80% that then can go towards other overhead like employee fees and the operating cost of the building. So in the gaming industry, a good price of that would be our equivalent of food cost would be goods cost. Goods cost needed to stay between I would say 45% to 55%. You really can't get away with more than 60%. And like I said, now Wizards is expecting us to work off of an 88% goods cost of goods versus markup. So that is a business model that cannot succeed and definitely cannot scale. And what I mean by scaling is think about every little $100 of overhead or every little $100 more of, I believe I did it, it's like $833 per $100 of added overhead or added profit, or not profit, added overhead to then be able to buy the inventory you need and cover the overhead. So $833 per $100 overhead. So if you wanted to hire that part-time employee, well, minimum wage times 20 hours a week, someone do the math, it's thousands more dollars of sales that you're going to have to do. So it makes your sales associate. So this is something I used to work in is sales. I, did sales for Sears for a number of years, and I had expected sales number that I was supposed to reach per day, per month, because it absolutely was a necessity. Otherwise, I was not worth it to bring on. Yeah, we had lowly cashiers. We had cashiers that, of course, were a necessary evil for just to check out. But people that were in sales themselves needed to be able to justify their wage. That's why a lot of sales is worked on commission, not on an hourly wage, because of this kind of overhead dilemma. For every dollar that you spend into them, they better be selling, this and this and that. And that's why usually the sales cut made sense. So to have a local game store that then bring on part-time employees is just a substantial increase of net sales that you're going to have to do with these absolutely terrible profit margins. All right, let's continue. We'll be making drastic changes to our store in the coming months. Don't worry, the Patreon benefits are not going away. In fact, that will be our primary focus. So here is my promise to you. As long as the doors stay open, and we have some ways that we're definitely going to scale back, and this is going to turn into even more of a skeleton crew, minimal operating hours, because we have to actually focus on things now that actually make money. Our whole goal and the thing with Gone Rogue Games is week after week, month after month, year after year, we are increasing kind of our overall value of our store. So we started the store with insanely low capital. We've been grinding, making every sale lead to, going back in, reinvesting in the business. And it's been a slow grind, because in this day and age, and that's especially with like Amazon and Walmart to be competitors with and have these really slim margins, you have to have an insane amount of capital to begin with just to have the inventory you need to be able to cover the overhead. Like I said, if you are going to start a local game store with our insanely low overhead, you would need $5,500 in inventory that you would have to sell out that month just to reorder that $5,500, or just to reorder the amount of inventory and pay your overhead. So actually not $5,500 in inventory. You need like, I can't remember what the conversion was there. I can't think of the moment, but you need over $4,000 in inventory right off the bat. And that's not to, take into account all the operating costs or all the startup costs, like your fixtures, your shelving, the cases, the signage, all that, the point of sale system, the bank, all the stuff that's required to setting up a bank and a business license. All of that is you're already in the black, or already in the red, that needs to be taken care of before those interest rates start killing you. All those loan rates, or just, or you'd have to have that capital up front. So it's not only do I think that this is going to affect local game stores that are currently operating, it's going to be hell on new local game stores that are magic oriented, magic focused, to really make the numbers work and actually start new local game stores. So what I like to compare this to is kind of the boom of Magic during the Return to Ravnica era, and we had just that massive, not only was Magic really extremely popular, it was extremely profitable when you could take a Magic booster box and actually sell it for 120, 130 boxes. And during that time period, that's exactly what was happening. The game stores were able to move it because there just wasn't a lot of other outlets. There wasn't it hadn't become so hyper competitive in eBay, TCG Player. Amazon, of course, didn't have a company directly selling towards it. And so it was still, a local game store could compete with online prices by being a lot more convenient. But slowly by slowly, with like I said in my other video, with the addition of sports and more, with the addition of just it being oversaturated, so like a lot of times success is its own downfall. that you get a lot of people, oh, you can make a buck here, well, I'm going to do it. And pretty soon it becomes so oversaturated that then no one's making any money because everyone is just really, really competing to make that dollar. And I think that's another thing that we are already to that point, and we are already going to see a lot of game stores and people in the kind of the magic, the sealed product, magic finance end of things start to go under just because there is a bubble in merchants. There are way too many merchants per player with the dwindling community base. So again, this is just another added, straw that breaks the camel's back. This actually is the straw that breaks the camel's back, in my opinion. Maybe this could have, Amazon, if they would have done this 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, this might not have been as big of an impact, at least on the current market. But now it's going to be, in my opinion, the straw that breaks the camel's back. So the Return Ravnica Forward game stores started popping up everywhere. The Salt Lake area went from like 4 or 5 to literally 20, 30 stores in the greater Salt Lake area, because people could work on just this profit margin of, especially reselling singles, because people needed a lot. It was a very vibrant economy where people were buying and selling cards like crazy. And if you can get in on the game store, like how we make the majority of our profit here at Gone Rogue Games is by, buying cards and then reselling cards. So buying it at really low rates and selling it premium rates. That's exactly how it works. But all those are still have a lot to do with the sealed product end of things, and being able to, like, that's the sealed product end of it is the kind of the safety net part, where if I spend money, at least I can recoup it by liquidating it, or make profit where profit is. So in the olden days, what people would do is they'd buy their entire allotment of booster boxes, sell what they could, and then they just dump the rest back on eBay, and then they'd recoup their costs. But with something like this Amazon coming in that it's even not profitable after fees, then this outlet is completely gone. So again, that's going to affect a lot of these startup stores like me. They are condescendingly called Clubhouses. I'll get to that in a second in the Reddit thread. And I'm going to make the argument that Clubhouses deserve to exist and should exist, and in my opinion are more important than those non-focused Magic game stores. I mean, in my opinion, a game store that isn't really Magic focused might as well be Walmart or Target. They really don't give you anything advantageous to going and buying at Walmart or Target. If your store owner is so spread out that gaming is just the cash cow, just gaming in general, then probably not going to be very invested in Magic unless they particularly like Magic. And it's just, they could care, again, the care is not there. The love is not there. So at what part are they actually part of the community, or part of of trying to build Magic? I would say not nearly as much as these quote unquote Clubhouses. And these, where I think the golden age of Magic is where all of these small local game stores started popping up everywhere, where everyone could go and find their specific niche, where they could find a player group that they enjoyed and find just a store that kind of fit their cup of tea. And with that, it's going to be fewer and fewer of those of options, where people are like, you don't like a game store, go find another one. Well, you are literally going to be stuck with that one game store in your area going forward. So where was I on this? I know I'm going to get very, very sidetracked. This is going to be a long video again. So anyway, so the board game CCG industry, the board game CCG industry itself isn't much better, often having very low margins. Let me put this down for you to see. Low margins in the 30% range with a ton of risk with how quickly board games and CCGs go in and out of style. This, I can tell you, a lot of board games already have about a 30% margin. And a lot of board games already have Amazon deals, already oversaturated, already distribute them through Targets and Walmarts and other places. So the local game store has also been reeling on that aspect. And again, it's up to, I think, that stores or games like Magic that have the most at stake with play space, with wanting to have organized play, I think they should have the chunk of the burden of giving reasonable profit margins for their partners to stay in business and promote their game. But I digress there. In the coming months, we will be liquidating a good chunk of our singles inventory. So if you're looking for singles for your EDH deck or modern decks, I would greatly appreciate if you consider us when purchasing card singles. Magic is still a very lucrative secondary market for card singles, especially owning a brick and mortar, where you can act as the middleman in the economy. However, August and September were an extremely trying time for Gone Rogue Games, as we had half a dozen of our most loyal customers move away. Again, that's not Magic's fault. I understand that. It's really a localized, but we don't have the fallback too. That's the whole thing, is when we could just go, all right, if it sells in Richfield, cool. If not, we can liquidate it and make our money back on the, online. That's exactly what our business model was. And again, people can, in the comment section, I'll get you condescending game store owners that are in a highly populated area that have the capital to survive stuff like this. And you can be as condescending and douchebaggish as you want, telling me I don't deserve to be in this industry. I started a dumb business to begin with because, sure, but the end result is still less Gone Rogue games out there. So, enjoy your time. Basically, puffing it up, saying, so sorry for you. This is the repercussions of these decisions. All right. So August and September were extremely trying times for Gone Rogue Games. We had half a dozen of our most loyal customers move away. A lot of these were ambassadors to a particular format. We lost our commander guy, the guy that organized our commanders. I'm not very big into commander. Zach's not big in commander. It's not our cup of tea. This particular gentleman was huge into commander. That's all he did was commander, and he called everyone. He organized all of the events, and it was just, it was sucked to see him move. One of the things that I've noticed with Magic is the enfranchised players are sticking around, but the recruitment of new players is absolutely dismal. It has been extremely hard for me to find new players that are invested in the game. I think that most of the enfranchised players came during the glory years of Magic. So we're talking about Return to Ravnica all the way up through Khans of Tarkir. And that's where they fell in love with the game and stuck with it. I have very few people that have been, I started during Ixalan. How many people do you hear started during Amonkhet and are enfranchised? And you're like, oh, Magic's this cool thing. No, it's not been on a downturn since then. So yes, people before then have stuck with it. So when we lose people, which inevitably that's what happens, you can't expect everyone to stick with Magic or stick with your area. You need to constantly be recruiting new people. And when they fall off, then it's just another dagger for it. So it is one of the problems with our small town. The fight to keep your player base is very tough when there is no jobs for our primary demographic of young men ages 18 to 29. That's a problem with Richfield. One of the things when we opened this game store, we were really banking on our college taking off. Unfortunately, the powers that be have tried to stop our college here from growing because it's a direct competitor with another college, and they've infiltrated it and done a good job of doing so. Hopefully that turns, because I think that Richfield's a great place for a college town. If that is, then that's where we get the boom of, college age people coming to Richfield and spending money at our store. Anyway, in short, these are difficult times for Gone Rogue Games. It feels like 2018 was one setback after another setback, with failed master sets that used to be filled failed master sets that used to fill the coffers for the drought, so to speak, to limited access to products that did sell, like Battle Bond and Unstable, and definitely a diminishing player base. As always, I appreciate all love and support this community has given myself, Zach, and the Gone Rogue Games Rogue Deck Builder brand. I will detail more in a video midweek, so this isn't going to be the video. I'm going to go over it in a better video. I am not going anywhere. However, the writing is on the wall when it comes to this business model no longer being viable for a brick and mortar. I can no longer expect Zach to work his ass off for minimal pay, maximum stress, and the looming uncertainty of the local game store dilemma. I can guarantee it is going to get worse before it gets better, with WotC hyper-focused on Arena and other digital ventures. So that's kind of my gist here. What I mean by how terrible 2017 and 2018 was, let's just go ahead and take a look at the products that came out in 2017 and 2018 and how they've just been awful. Not only for the local game stores, but just the secondary market, just the market in general. The Magic is just not, it's just not pushing the sales it once was, or is just bumbled the right word, bumbled a lot of the potentially good sales. So start with like Amonkhet Hour of Devastation. These were both pretty much duds. Can we all become in agreement to them? Here's my experience with Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation. Amonkhet sold okay, but it wasn't anything. We had to start competing at way lower than MSRP to sell booster boxes and bundles and all that stuff. The pre-release was pretty meh. So it definitely wasn't very profitable for our local game store for Omake. So we missed out a lot of profit margin on that one, on that release. Hour of Devastation, complete awful wreck. The pre-release was pretty low. The able to sell booster boxes was dismal for its entire life in standard. You could rarely ever sell above or near MSRP. It just did not make good profit margin at all. All right, so then we have Ixalan. Ixalan was, again, okay. It was pretty strong, actually. Booster boxes had a fairly reasonable sale at first. This is also when Sportsmore really started ramping up. And it was okay. It made decent little profits here and there, but yeah, not that great. Rivals was another absolute disaster. The boxes didn't sell. The secondary market was rough. Again, just wasn't a very profitable set. Then we go into Dominaria. Dominaria was an insanely profitable set. The boxes flew off the shelves. However, here's the caveat. Wizards of the Coast decided that they were going to limit the supply of the amount of boxes that people could get around the release of Dominaria. They created a false sense of shortage. Well, what that ended up happening to do is stores like me just ran out and couldn't reorder. And so we missed out on that opportunity of where we could have made decent profits when those Dominaria booster boxes were flying off the shelf. When they were restocked, Wizards flooded the market with Dominaria, and the prices just completely evaporated. And once again, Dominaria is not a profitable selling set. Core 2019, the worst of the worst. Pre-release was absolutely dismal. Booster box sales were absolutely horrid because the set value came out at not good. In comparison, like it was one of the worst pre-selling sets as far as value in a long time. And it's continued to sold very, very slow and very stale. Those are the major releases. If we go over to the global series, Zhang Yangyu and Mu Yanling, horrible. These sell way under MSRP. They don't have the value of the cards in them. It's dismal. There's like $16 worth of cards in this entire thing if you were to try to piece out even all the commons and uncommons what they're worth. There's like $6 worth of cards in the entire thing. It's awful. We go to the dual decks. Dual decks Mind versus Might. Huge disappointment. Merfolk versus Goblins was okay, but again, people were kind of like, we're not going to buy a dual deck unless there's value there. Elves versus Inventors, same thing. Another missed product. We had From the Vault Transform. It was decent. That was also, but compared to other From the Vaults in the past, was actually quite, better than Annihilation and Angels, worse than, 20s Realms, going back, long ways. Just not any profit margin to be made there. Signature Spellbook Jaces. We ended up having to liquidate these because they just were not moving. We had to sell them at maybe a little bit above MSRP, but not much. It was not good margins. It didn't make us good profit margins. Let's get on to the really embarrassing things. Iconic Masters. I can still get Iconic Masters for next to nothing, and I have to sell them if I want to sell them for next to nothing. Masters 25, exact same thing. Neither one of these sets were good. Neither one of them sold very well. Neither one of them gave us decent profit margins. So these are the type of bread and butter that a clubhouse like me used to live off of, is where we could make a good, $3-4 grand on a release of Iconic Master or on a master sets. And that would really, and this was a lot of times over MSRP or near MSRP. So we're talking about 50% profit margin. So if you're looking at overhead on a 50% margin, all you have to make back is $1,200. That's it to cover overhead. You have to do $1,200 of sales of Iconic Masters to cover your overhead and reorder it. That's awesome. That's easy. That's a lot easier than doing at the 12% margin of doing 5,500. So it's feasible. It's something that a lot of people want. It's online. I could not only sell to my locals, but I could sell online at a very decent profit. Those two were massive misses for the early part of 2017 into 2018. And again, they're another a struggle for the game store to keep afloat. The holiday gift packs this time around were absolutely awful. Did not sell. We ended up piecing them out. We ended up breaking them apart for their packs and their dice and their foils and trying to recoup the best we could. First of all, I didn't invest much in them because I thought they were bad coming out. Even things like Challenger decks. The first couple ones sold good and the next ones were not that great. Overall, we were able to sell like two of the cases that came through with them. at decent MSRP, but not very good. So those challenger decks were actually one of the more silver linings. I personally hated them, and it had nothing to do with profit margins and things like that. I just think they were bad for the game in general, because they're a product that just was a low shelf life, very disingenuous. Wizards trying to cash out of equity for a set when it was already gone, and didn't really help the market or just Magic. And it's just an unneeded set, in my opinion. Didn't save Standard. Remember how it was going to save Standard and everyone was going to show up for those Standard events? Yeah, that never happened. Commander 2018, another dud. Another one that has been really, really low. If I can sell at MSRP, I'm happy. Usually we have to sell a little bit under MSRP, especially if we go online, we have to sell way below MSRP. Unstable and Battle Bond. These were the two that sold very well. However, with both of these, Wizards once again tried to control this really, really short supply of them, and then tried to and toyed with us with the numbers. Wizards never really gave us a good opportunity to buy as many as we could, or as many as would be profitable for either Battle Bond or Unstable. So a lot of those profit margins were really hampered by the inability to buy the product, not sell the product. And that still was on Wizards of the Coast. Yet Sports and More has 5 bazillion of each of these and can just sell to their heart's content, where I can get 2 Battle Bonds per week. That's how much Wizards allowed me to buy. Two Battle Bonds per week. Yay. All right, so that's kind of my overview of products that have occurred in 2017, 2018. So it even goes beyond just this change in MSRP. It goes beyond the selling directly to Amazon. Wizards hasn't put out a product that really sells. And again, I can't speak for the rest of the gaming world of how, I don't even know how other stores really operate on. We've tried the business model of board games. First of all, board games seem to have a different demographic. I don't get a lot of walk-in purchases for board games. And that's something we have tried to work on, but it's just an unknown. And without the capital to be able to survive on product that doesn't move for a while, or that I have to get kind of creative with, is something we can't really invest in. So my point being is Gonro Games really is never going to be that legit game store. It's never going to be beyond the clubhouse, with not being able to use something like Magic as the catalyst to get there. Most businesses start this way. Most businesses don't start with full hundreds of thousands of dollars of investments and in infrastructure to support it. A lot of these game stores that exist today that are being condescending about these clubhouses, they once upon a time probably were these more clubhouses, or carved out a niche somewhere. I watched it with Epic Puzzles and Games in Salt Lake City. They banked on being the only real family-friendly store. We had some game stores in Salt Lake. There weren't very many of them, but we had one in the mall that stunk, that was full of more of the kind of like gothic-looking, and I'm nothing against them. It was just wasn't my cup of tea. They were gamers through and through. And then we had another store that had a lot of cutthroat gamers and was definitely focused differently. Epic Puzzle and Game was the first family-friendly, come in, sit down, play an enjoyable game with people that smelled good, and just a very friendly, casual environment. They were able to carve out that niche. It was again very, very penny pinching, hyper focused. It was in this tiny little almost closet of a store with very, very few tables. Well, that niche was successful for them. They're able to make profit margins by creating good service, able to move to a bigger store. Bigger store was very successful through, again, very good customer service and whatnot. And they're able then to move into a gigantic store. And last that I heard from them, they end up selling the store for really good profit. And the people that took over there just didn't have what it took to manage a game store, and it went under very quickly. Plus, they got into Magic at a horrible time, in my opinion, where profit margins, again, were very, very slim. So these type of stores, usually that's how they did it. They carved a niche and were able to be successful. Now, though, it just doesn't seem like that is going to be the thing. So back to what I was saying, the game stores that exist, that have lots of working capital, that have they've been around for a while, so they kind of have the known, this is where it's at. They don't have to have huge advertising budgets because people know that it's there, and it continues to, success brings into success, those are probably going to do fine because they can adjust. They can work on their other stuff that does make profit. They can always find where that profit margin is, where the most profitable things are, and be able to move their capital towards that. People like me that are trying to carve out a niche, people like me that are trying to really focus as Magic, being a very Magic-focused store, we are like 95% Magic sales here, or like Magic and Magic accessories. So sleeves and Magic are basically everything this store lives on. So taking a product like booster boxes, which are our highest sellers, and making it so we can't be competitive is a massive chunk. And again, even if it is, even let's just say booster boxes or booster packs are only 30%, that's probably pretty accurate of our business model. That is 30% now that we have to come up with somewhere else. And like I said before, it was also something that I could do booster box openings and be able to carve out a profit. And that leads me on to kind of this whole Market Monday topic that we're going to have to go in more into detail. Maybe next week, or maybe I'll talk about it more somewhere else, is what effect is this going to have on the secondary market with every Timmy having access to $90 booster boxes? To think that this isn't going to drive the price down of card singles is just being unreasonable, because card prices are already anchored on like a box value of what someone can get a box at. So mass box openers have already really affected the price of card singles. Now, if Timmys that just want to blow $90 because they think they're going to be the next savant when it comes to MTG finance, and they're just going to open up booster boxes now they can get at 90, you better bet your bottom dollar that that's going to have at least as far as Guilds of Ravnica, and probably a few sets afterwards, it's going to have an influence on the market. And we could see card prices go way down because of the $90 booster boxes that anyone can get and open up and flood the market with. So that's kind of where I'm at here. That's the reality. Let's go over to the Reddit real quick. I'm gonna, since I'm, here it is. So here's kind of this comment right here is the one that really irks me. So my local game store owner actually posted something pretty relevant to the scenario before it happened. Things like this don't kill local game stores. Things like this kill clubhouses pretending to be local game stores. If the store you frequent has a real retail space and actually diversifies their business, board games, comics, RPGs, war games, other card games, then this will barely hit to their overall sales. The majority of customers read casual players aren't even going to know this is available and will be splitting a box or two with their friends or picking up cheap singles they need for their casual games, all while still handing their cash to their local game store. Well, here's the thing. Yes, you have those walk-in customers to the areas that is accessible to do so. Like I say, in a major metropolitan area, casual players probably still are the vast majority of sales. But per customer, and like whales still, in my opinion, at least for a lot of the business models I've seen, are still your bread and butter for a local game store. It's the person that buys a case. It's the person that buys 4 commander decks. It's a person that comes to your events, because not only do they come to their events, but they bring their friends. And just them being there creates an atmosphere that wants other people to come here. All of this has a snowball effect. All of this has a domino effect. Yes, I'm happy for the casual customers that come in and buy a Jace or a Liliana occasionally. They're nice, but they are not the vast majority. And if people, again, if they are in a metropolitan area and they've been able to carve out that scene, yeah, they'll probably still be alive because they're lucky. They are the very, very far and few between of these type of stores. The vast majority of stores, we need the whales. We need the people that buy a lot. But it's got to make sense to them of where to buy it. Now, of course, this is like, so diversifies. Well, this is just trying to say that Magic isn't going to fit this business model. Because if board games are making a 40% profit margin, and comics are making a 40, and RPGs are making a 50, and war games are making whatever, other card games, these are the things that are going to focus on. And again, what is going to happen when other games decide to follow suit and become like, hey, if Wizards is doing it, let's do it as well. I would still even say too, the whales, the people that come in and play Magic, are the reason the game stores mainly exist to begin with. That is how a lot of these stores, like I said before, start, and then they grow and they expand. This is just a misstatement, in my opinion. majority of customers, casual players, when people talk about casual Magic players and casual players, there's a huge difference. Like when we talk about Timmy is actually what I don't consider a casual player. Timmy is a serious enfranchised player that plays casually, but they spend a lot of money. Timmys are great. We love Timmys. They're enfranchised though. They're not casual. Of course, spikes, who everyone thinks is spikes usually aren't the bread and butter. You can actually look at finance trends, and commander cards go up, consistently go up across the board more than competitive cards. So Timmys aren't this demographic they keep trying to talk about. Timmys are your people that want a local game store scene, that are enfranchised in Magic. They're not just coming in and buying a pack or two here and there, and they're not the ones that are keeping your doors afloat. And this is unreasonable too. Board games, comic books, RPGs, war games are a joke for most stores. They take up way too much space. They don't justify their retail space. The overhead for them is just massive. And again, it's just one of those perks that if you have a big enough successful store and you have some working capital, you have something you can move into them, then yeah, you might as well make a buck here. But it's one of those, once you get to that investment, that's your $5,000 investment that makes you $100. Like, it's not reasonable. War games exist because there are already outlets at game stores that have better margins, and that makes sense to actually keep the doors open. Same thing with comics. Board games are good margins, and some stores can be very successful with board games. Comics, same thing with comics, I would say with war games. They usually aren't enough to everyone that comes in to buy a random comics here and there. The amount of money, the actual profit you make on them is not good. You just keep them there because, it's another thing. I've got the space. I'm making money elsewhere. I might as well make a buck on this. No matter what the margins is, no margin or some margins is better than no margins. However, these are not things that I think are sustainable. Again, maybe if you put them all together and you have a ton of capital, if you have $1 million to make $1,000, $1,000 is still good. And as long as that $1 million is moving, then it works. But again, how many people have $1 million to throw around at absolutely terrible profit margins in these other terrible industries like board games, comics, RPGs, war games, and other card games? These are not sustainable. These are not feasible. Magic, in my opinion, has been the savior for local game stores for the longest time. I don't think that it's very easy for game stores to operate without Magic. So if you read down these comments, there's just a lot of stuff talking about these clubhouses. Clubhouses are important. Clubhouses are your backbone and they're playing by the rules. We have a business license. We have a retail space. We have a working relationship with the distributor. We have a marketing budget that we go around our community and try to get people in. What difference is it? I'm a business as well. Is the age of clubhouses, is that necessarily a good thing? It acts like this entire thread acts like it's like, who gives a crap if clubhouses go out of business? And I don't know. That's just, I've rambled, I've ranted, I've talked my ear off about this. I don't see anything good coming from it. I really still do think that Wizards of the Coast needs to buckle down and focus on their clubhouses, on the local scenes. It's kind of like a lot of reason why franchises will go into an area that isn't profitable. I know for a fact there's a sporting goods store and there's a couple restaurants, chain restaurants, that don't make money in our area because it is so small. But the reason that they are here is for brand recognition. It's there for a competitor can't come in, and B, it keeps it in the mind of people that, this exists. So it has an effect on the markets that are actually making a lot of money to be open in the markets that are making just so money. And so, I think that Wizards, if they looked at that as these smaller areas where people can be recruited to play Magic as a net benefit, because it does have that snowball effect. It does have that kind of domino effect of, when there's players in Richfield, Utah, well, they move on, they grow up, they get families, they move to someplace else, they bring that with them, they recruit other people. The more stores, the merrier, in my opinion. The better for competition, the better for the entire game. And this, I don't know, Wizards just look how condescending they were with the pre-release promos. Not pre-release promos, excuse me, FNM promos. We don't want the spikes coming to FNM, so we're going to give tokens out for the pre-release pro. Yeah, that backfired nicely. That went from the stores being packed at F&M to no one caring about the F&M, because in my opinion, the price support definitely should be on Wizards. That should be their responsibility. They should bring back the player rewards. They should bring back better price supports. They have the ability to literally print money and incentivize people to come. And I think that if they crack down on the fake stores, not Clubhouses, the one that actually aren't running events, and keep these promos only to legit stores, that would do wonders right there. And maybe something like selling directly on Amazon wouldn't hit so hard when I'd be like, oh, I can fill my store full of people that want these $20 promos or whatnot. That's a lot better of an outlook than neither, having worthless, useless promos, worthless, useless support from Wizards. Basically, really nothing. They're providing me with nothing, no incentive to run their tournaments. Anyway, that's my rant. I'm sorry for 2 long-ass rants in a row. We'll get back to the thing of things for Market Monday. I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I'm probably going to be doubling down on Market because, as I said earlier, we are starting to sell off a lot of our singles. We need some working capital because, like that store said, we need to diversify our interests here and can't be tied so much up into Magic anymore when Magic isn't profitable to sell. So if you want to help us make that transition, like I said, both Zach and I are going to have to go pursue. We already have been. We already have side jobs and side pursuits because this store, Gone Rogue Games, was set up as a clubhouse, was set up for people in Richfield, Utah to go have a place to play. And it has been amazing. We've watched players blossom. We've watched people that didn't have a place to go find sanctuary. Gamers that could meet up with other like-minded people and not be judged at the, playing at their cafeteria, or, they have a cool place to come and play. We made gaming kind of fun and cool here. And it was a good benefit to the community. So that's the reason why we did it. And the store has been keeping the lights on and the doors open. And little by little, as struggles it may be and as grindy as it may be, the store has remained in the black and being able to be to pay for his expenses. However, moving forward, this is very, very tough if the directions keep going this way. So for us, this is really the straw that is breaking the camel's back. It is the writing on the wall. It is that I need to really diversify, and there's probably not a reason to be holding tens of thousands of dollars of card singles in if the rest of the Magic is a whole encompassing thing. It's the sealed product and the card singles and the events. All of those make a thriving industry or a thriving store. If one of those gets chopped off, we're missing a limb, and it's a lot more difficult to have a successful business when, like I said, 30% of your things that you used to rely on is really just cut off. So I'd appreciate if you do like our content. The YouTube content's not going anywhere, so it doesn't affect the vast majority of you that don't come to Gone Rogue Games. But if you are in the market for buying singles, we do have a TCG player store here, goneroguegames.tcgplayer, or you can just go to goneroguegames.com. Keep in mind our prices here. You'll see these, like Remorseful Cleric for $2, for example. This isn't this is how I use. Here's a great little Market Monday tip for you. I only use TCG Player since there is a huge fees that are associated. There's a 7.75% fee if they buy directly from goneroguegames.com. If somehow this gets reverted back to TCG Player and you buy, there's an 8.5% fee. Plus there's a credit card transaction fee. Plus there's a listing fee. So all of those, it comes between about 10 to 12% fee on depending on the price of the card on TCG Player. So that's why I don't like using TCG Player to sell cards. I'd way rather find better outlets. So when we post stuff on TCG Player, we always highball. So in case there's some sort of spike, it's like, oh, okay, I'm willing to let go of Remorseful Cleric at $2 plus fees. I'm willing to let go. You'll see a lot of these are really, really high on the highball on cards because I feel like they somehow could be in an EDH deck or a modern deck and could go up in value. And so we've highballed them because that's where I'm comfortable selling it off as. That is, MTG Finance is all about playing the waiting game. It's all about finding the opportune times to buy and sell. So you shouldn't just always try to match market price for TCG Player or any other Like, I noticed that Card Kingdom has insanely low standard cards right now. I don't think that's a good business model to really be following a lot of times unless you're trying to free up capital. However, that's exactly what we are trying to do right now. So if you come over here to Gone Rogue Games, you can kind of search through cards and see what we have. If you just write down a list of cards, contact me directly via email, roguedeckbuilder@gmail.com. You can Facebook me, you can Twitter me, you can Discord me, however you want to get in contact with me. Hey, I saw you had these cards for sale. Will you match X price? And I probably will do that if it's reasonable. So if it's around market price, or if you're matching, something else, at this point in time, we'd love to avoid the fees we'd love to avoid the 11.5% fees by giving you a better deal. So again, come over here to Gone Rogue Games. We just got done with M19. We're going to have all the way up through Ixalan done tonight. Tomorrow we'll probably be back all the way through Kaladesh. And then we'll just keep going set by set every day back until we got this fully inventoried. And I'd appreciate the support here. We're trying to free up between $5,000 to $10,000 from our card singles. That's the good news. We still do have an insane amount of cards that we've been able to rack up over the years. Again, though, it's not very feasible to like, the reason why I've been able to do this is just smarts. For any other average day Joe, trying to handle a buying, selling of Magic singles isn't profitable. And so that's why a lot of local game stores don't do a lot of it, because they just get killed on the singles market. It takes someone that knows finance to really make a profit with it. So anyway, yeah, so if you are in the market for singles at the moment, we'd appreciate it. We could really, really use the money to kind of be a safety net at the moment while we transition and figure this entire thing out. We're not closing the doors. We're not giving up the YouTube channels and the Patreon and things like that. We are just definitely doing the smart thing, preparing for the future and trying to get some padding, trying to get some safety net for the possible things that could come with a downturn in the market or a downturn in Wizards even going even more full-blown, giving products like Jace's Spellbook directly to Amazon, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, video's long. Sorry about it. Hopefully I recovered enough. Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.